Oh, we could hear our guest is physically with you today, Jake.
You know what? We have a breakthrough. I don't want to introduce them, but you can see that they're already a troublemaker. And this, for the fifth time that we're doing this podcast, I thought we would spice it up a little bit by bringing one of my spicier friends. Howard, we've gone everything from sales to design to we've had a lot
Marketing
of friends
and branding.
So today, I thought we would maybe talk about someone who's not only built companies, but also has put a little bit of money into building companies. And so I thought maybe to get that perspective. I'm not sure if that person's in the room, but if they are, let me drag them in.
Oh, there he is. Hey, it's Daniel.
Hi, everybody.
Give us nice to see you too. Jake, why don't you give us a little introduction, or Daniel, introduce yourself to our guests and listeners.
Hi.
Yeah,
Jake,
Daniel, where are you in the go-to-market SaaS world? What do you
today?
No, your experience. No one's interested in.
I'll give you 40 seconds of experience. I'm from London, and I was in finance, and I was in the wrong career for about 15 years. And about the age of 33-ish, I'm 48. You do the maths, nearly 49. I founded a software company called Graduate. And it provided, I don't know how much you got, provided alumni relations software and fundraising software to schools and universities, predominantly in America. We built it, sold it, and now I invest in early stage tech companies and try and help them grow.
So Daniel, you've actually built and sold companies, and now you're doing investment. So I think that some of the spicier things here are maybe there are some lessons learned as an insider, someone who's built, that you now apply when you're looking at companies. You know, both Howard and I are in that previous stage where we're operators,
right? But
maybe you can provide a little bit of perspective of, are we focusing on the right things? What do you look at when you're an early stage investor in terms of the go-to-market? We look at product market fit, we talk about the marketing motions, the sales motions. Can you give us some perspective on that?
Yeah, I did an analysis actually of my investors over the years and worked out who was the smartest investor, right? Because they all we exited, and all my investors made money, but they made different amounts.
You're telling me it's not gambling?
Sorry? What's that thing?
You're telling me it's not akin to gambling? It's not akin to gambling?
Why is that gambling? No, meaning it was the same company with the same exit, but investors, depending on when they invested, made different amounts of money. Anyway, I'll tell you my rules, just which came predominantly from that. I think the early stage, like you've got an idea, is super risky. And I spent maybe 4 or 5 years in that stage, and I wasn't particularly very good at that stage trying to work out what works, especially if it's B2B software. What I worked out is when we hit like $500,000 of recurring revenue, suddenly we had something. So I don't know if you call that product market fit, but once you've got some customers using a product and they sort of come back a little bit and there's something there, you're already at a different stage of risk profile. So I look for companies with a little bit of revenue, which are not too much, because once they get too much, everybody's interested in them. I look for misfits predominantly. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if you're like, I don't know, 8200 graduates and you're Harvard this, you know, everyone's all over you. I look for the people that are sort of neglected. I really judge companies a lot by who I want to have coffee with. So when I look at my week ahead, I never wanted to have that feeling of, shit, I'm meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I want to look forward to meet, but they've got to be like people that I like. They have to be super honest. They have to be super hardworking, because I'm not going to be running the company, and they've got to do it. They've got to be coachable. That doesn't mean they have to listen to everything I say. I have genius, but only about 5% of the time. 95% of the time it's stupidity. So, but I want people that are open to a proper conversation. And you put all of those things together. So I'd say $500,000 of sales, of recurring revenue, some sort of product market fit, cool people to hang out with that you want coffee, hardworking, mentors, honest people that are coachable. That actually is quite a unique set of criteria. And you put all of those together, and I found 4 so far, and I've invested in, that sort of met all of those. And then the final thing I'll throw out, and this is just a very personal flavor. When you start investing, often you sort of fire lots of little bits everywhere, and I found if you have like 0.5% of a company or something, it's sweet, it's nice, but it wasn't fun. It was like watching football or soccer and not quite being involved enough. But you don't want to have too much involvement where it becomes a responsibility. So you there's a sweet spot, and I think that varies for each person, where they've got enough skin in the game that it's fun, that you feel part of the team. I think winning as part of the team is still a big driver for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
can I zoom out first?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Was
too much.
No, but if anyone's watching and fits all those magic 4 criteria,
please call me.
There was so much gold in there, actually. Yeah, that's those are great insights to hear from a investor for early stage. Like you're balancing the actual, product market fit with the founder profile. But I want to step back into that product market fit again, talking about, because like getting it narrowed down into the go to market, what marketers and sales probably look for also in early stage companies that they want to join. So I want a little bit of a challenge. Is something like 500,000 and a handful of customers really product market fit, especially if you consider like a TAM that might be, in the billions, potentially, just because you got a handful of customers that say, hey, this is a cool little tool. Maybe it's because you got in the room and you sold something nice. And...
So the 500,000 is a great question. It has a couple of caveats in it. It can't be any friends and families. And it can't be, and I don't know who the podcast is, but I'm Jewish and Israeli, and call it friends and families. I typically exclude Israeli customers, not because I don't love Israel, which I do. I adore Israel and live here, but because in Israel, everyone's brother-in-law's neighbors can get you into any company, and you can get all of the big logos of Israel. So I think for American investors looking at Israeli companies, they go, wow, Bank of Poland's a client, and nice systems, and Amdocs, and I'm going, well, and I'll go, who did you know at Amdocs? Oh, that's my brother-in-law. Yeah. So it's got to be like a genuinely attained customer that didn't have some form of insight that protects your knowledge or friendship or friends and family, like genuinely saw your product, liked it, used it, bought it. So the $500,000 would exclude any Israeli, Jewish network, friends, family, whatever your network is.
Hard-earned. So you're saying hard-earned business where it went through a proper, either an inbound or an outbound, and went through a full sales cycle that with bookable recurring revenue. Right. Not a POC.
The other option, other than 500,000, is worth putting out. I bought a small company through my old company once. They had a very high-profile customer that was real, and my due diligence was literally, I rang up that customer, was very sophisticated, and I said, how happy are you? And they were like deliriously happy, and I checked they weren't a family or friend or connected, and that was it. We bought the company. And people go, oh, didn't you want to check out? I said, no. For me, the real diligence when you're looking to join a company or found or whatever, sales. I'm very sales, genuinely objective sales are, for me, the best indicator of real business potential.
I want to ask a question, because you are a marketing sales-led company. That was it. And then on the other side, most people are looking for deep tech and product, but that's not how you've done it. So when you are looking at what is the role and the brand and the marketing operations, like you built those things in the last company that you sold, but when you're now looking at a set of eyes, you just want dollars in. That's what you're looking for. So how much credence do you put to the sales motion and the success or the metrics there, but on the marketing positioning and all that actually was a lot of the core of what your last business was?
It's my value add to the companies I'm working with, often to keep repositioning them in the market where we want to be and where we want to win. So I think I think that's a bit where we can help them scale. I'm not expecting companies to have perfect positioning and market fit. I've often, the companies I've invested in, go into like an industry conference and I meet all of their competitors, and I'm very open. I say, I've just invested in X, and you, Y, are a competitor. And let's say I was a customer, why would a customer pick you over the customer I just invested in? And very openly, everybody tells me the answer, which is really interesting. Again, I'm very transparent. I've just invested in your competitor. They know them, and I've asked 10, and 10 give me all the answers. And then I go back and tell the CEO, this is the market. This is how everyone's positioned themselves. And I smell like a gap there where I think the money is. Do you agree? Let's put the company there in positioning. So I'm not expecting perfect positioning or marketing. I think once you've got customers that are real customers using your product, you have something, and then we'll figure out later on where to position.
I'd agree with that. Even mature companies, are always changing their positioning, their go-to-market strategies. Right. Anyway, the market is dynamic. So regardless, no one's going to have perfect motions out the gate.
Right. So if you were to meet a sales and you're hiring for a sales company or you're looking to sales talent in one of these young companies, what would be some of the metrics or personalities or behaviors? What would you ask to see how their sales are doing? Not just the bottom line, but their sales process and motion.
For due diligence?
Yeah, yeah.
Look, for the people they hire, let's just start with how we value the people, and then we'll talk about the process, right? The people I'm looking for, any salesperson can get through 3 or 4 quarters without being fired, okay? Very hard to get through 2, 3, 4 years, right? Without being fired. And so that's like consistent performance. So that I'm looking for companies that are hiring people that are consistent performers. And if I can have another one, are promoted from within. So it's very easy to get hired and then fired. Much, much harder to get promoted. People have to really know you to get promoted. So when we start with the sales people, the quality of the people, I'm looking for proven performance, people that are prepared to say 3, 4 years and not move around every couple of years and are promoted from within. In terms of the actual sales process, I'm getting in quite early. So I'm not actually expecting them to have a robust go-to-market pipeline, or building that machine yet. That's something I can help them do. So, because particularly for my stage, that's not a necessary thing. We'll get involved, we'll work out who the target is, build the sales development, blah, 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 help them close deals quickly. But yeah.
So do you expect the first $500,000 to be founder-led sales?
Yeah, the best of that. The best is, the best companies are just, the founder is reasonably open, commercial, whatever, can talk, and has persuaded X number of customers to come and join the product, and they like it, and now we're looking to scale the machine.
If you're looking to scale that, looking for those first few hires, and you said you were looking for people that saw that promotion from within. Would you be looking for then that first VP sales to be someone who achieved VP sales, or what about those ICs who are just crushing enterprise quota, regardless, and just it's not it's not that person's way to go to be VP sales up through up through CRO, but says, you know what, I'm a key enterprise AE or whatever, or director, and just let me close business for you.
Look, I think it depends on what stage the company at. If we're talking early stage, which is mine, I'm typically looking for misfits. And I say that in a really, hope that's not derogatory or misfits. What I mean by that is overlooked talent. So these are typically very commercial people who didn't quite tick the sales tech profiling, right? They didn't start with some cybersecurity. They haven't done as maybe they worked. I don't want to say specifics without giving people away, but they worked in the non-tech industries,
manufacturing, agriculture,
non-digital, actual physical selling, where they've had to persuade people to buy a product, right? For me, the reason I go for those people is they cost less. I'm just being honest, right? Once they get into the tech thing, they've got these expectations of 10 bits and blah, 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 blah. And I, especially at the early stage, you need people to be a little bit more creative. When we're $500,000, we're still trying to figure out what this machine needs to be. And maybe for a month we're going to do X, and then we're going to get rid of that and go for Y. And I've just found those misfits are more open, cheaper, and way more creative, and have a much stronger work ethic. They found it hard to break into tech for whatever reason. They've overlooked. They're an amazing talent, and for me, that's it. And I've done that a few times. Sometimes it's been the misfit might not just be that they're not in tech; they're in a bad part of tech, right? Like they could be in some industries which are less, I don't want to name industry, but less sexy or less. They've been pigeonholed for whatever reason, overlooked. There's some real talent out there.
Daniel, you're talking a lot about talent and finding talent here. I mean, so you and I both grew up in Procter and Gamble, which we had a terrible interview process, but it was so you could easily see it and train for it. So do you still use those old school, whatever the winning behaviors? What's the way to get to whether or not someone is going to really be that right person? Interviewing is such a tough thing, especially, I would say right now with this added level of first interview seems to be normal, and then you get homework and it all comes out ChatGPT. Like, how do you, cull through who's the real person? What's your way of assessing talent?
I'll start at the end, which is just something that's really overlooked, because you're going to go through whatever your process is in interviewing. The reference is probably the most critical. So when it's impossible to know if anyone's any good at sales until they've actually tried your product. But the reference is pretty critical, and you have to ask a very specific reference question. It's not, is Jake any good? La, 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 la. Would you hire Jake again to do the exact job he just did for you?
Yeah.
I say that again. Would you hire Jake again to do the exact job he just did for you? And if the answer is not yes, then it's a bad reference. The other thing that's really unfair for salespeople and how I assess talent that way on the interviewing, they're actually selling to me. They forget that actually, it really hardly, they are selling a product which it happens to be themselves. And I'll judge them on everything like that. So, for example, don't start telling me your resume. Tell me how you're going to bring value to my company, or understand literally how you go through a sales process. Let me discover a little bit about the company, a little bit about the pain. Let me tell you my power statement of why I was an overachiever, top performer, and promoted from within, right? Let me show you how I can, where your pain points in this, how I can bring value to you, why I'm eager.
So do you bring that reference? We're not just talking about sales, we're talking about marketing here as well. Everything that do you start with
people I'm ruthless with, this is a selling process. And if you don't, for instance, follow up. I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed, love them, sales and marketing, love them. And then I do this trick, and I can say this because I'm not really hurrying. I just stay quiet after the interview. I don't follow up, 0 follow-up from me, and I wait, and I pray that they follow up, right? Mm-hmm. Please follow up. And if they haven't followed up within 1 hour, because I'm a bit strange, I'm already, the same day, okay, just about possible. Next day, you're a failure. I'm not interviewing you. So I'm like ruthless on the follow through about PGC. I was like, if you're not hungry and following up, like in sales, we forget who we talk to, the prospects go. So I treat the whole hiring of commercial people, sales, marketing, whatever it is, as a selling the product and seeing those behaviors. Did you follow through? Did you really think about the value that you can bring to me? And then, as I said, the reference is the critical bit to me. So think carefully about who you give as a reference.
Do you bring the reference earlier? Most people leave it as a formality at the end.
Yeah, I do this. You just
I'm just going to have a bit of a snap while we're talking.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to tell you.
For those people that are just listening, Jake is having Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Here's the thing: if you,
I don't like a glucose-free thing. No, I don't want to waste people's time giving references unless we're serious on hiring. So no, I do it at the end. But it's I've had many times I have not followed through and hired, even though I really like the person because of a bad reference. I've also given references. This is very difficult, and this is why I asked the question the way I did. No one, when you have to give a reference to somebody that no longer works with you, or you don't like, or fired, or whatever, you don't want to be the person that means they don't get the job. So they'll say to you, "Would you hire? Jake's giving you as a reference. What do you think of Jake?" I don't know. Is he good at sales? I don't know if he's good at sales, but he's just a great guy. He's got great work. I'll be very, very positive about it. I don't want to be the guy, but I don't want to lie to anybody either. So be very careful of who you ask for a reference.
Good tip.
I want changing gears again, going back to now you're an investor, but you were formerly a founder also at an early stage company. Sure. Do you want to talk a little bit about that journey for yourself personally, how it was to take a small company all the way through to acquisition? What did that feel like? Right, you coming now as an investor, but what is it like to be a founder?
Yeah, it nearly killed me. It's the honest one. I'd say, like, if you took my pulse, I was sort of like a 12, 13-year journey, right? The first 5-6 years were personally miserable for me because getting to that product market fit was horrific. Like, you think you've got a customer and they buy it, and you think you're onto something, and it's not quite. It's just you just happen to persuade some crazy person to buy the product. Those first 5-6 years were very tough. Once we hit like $500,000, $1 million of ARR, they were actually super fun. And then we had private equity come in, and that was also quite interesting because that took us sort of corporate development and buying and scaling. Sort of the P&G principles of scaling companies sort of came in. But it took a toll, right? Like you are all in. I think the analogy I always give is, I've only recently got into fitness. Jake knew me when I was larger, but it's like what are those things? A treadmill, right? You go on a treadmill. It's like the treadmill. As a founder, you get on the treadmill, and it's going really slowly. And you can talk to people. You can eat strawberry ice cream while you're on the treadmill. It's going really slowly. And then someone slowly in the background is slowly increasing this thing, and the stakes get higher, right? Because suddenly, if you fail, there's 5 people's employment, and then 10 people, and 100 and 200 people's employment on you. Or there's someone's $10,000 investment, $500,000, 1 million, 10 million, 20 million. Everything is right. And it just gets that, you're just trying to get off the treadmill without falling off, is the way I would describe it. Okay. I just want to get to the end without falling off. And that's really hard, because how do you get off? How do you get off this machine? How do you exit in a way that's responsible, particularly for the employees and your customers and stakeholders and investors? So, you know, and that was the hardest bit, and it just got faster and faster and faster.
Daniel, I want to talk because you're telling some.
No, that's great.
There's such a responsibility, and I know that one of your missions was to employ people. And that was one of the ideas of employing people locally. Yeah. And that's the huge weight of it. And I mean, it's a huge responsibility, not just to bring in for your own goods and for your investors, but you have hundreds of families that you're responsible for feeding. I mean, but you're the boss, and so no one loves the boss.
No, me.
So I mean, there's lots. I can tell you lots of stories.
I know.
Jake, do you know? Did you know, Jake? I don't know if I ever told you, but maybe Daniel remember that. I do owe a part of my journey into high tech to you, Daniel. Right? I did. I interviewed. After I forgot which role, but I interviewed with you. We had coffee, right? Like you said. So this is how the conversation went. I'm not sure sales would be right for you right now. Have you thought about marketing? There's a nice marketing agency nearby, and I think you should check out. And that led me down the path.
You did well.
I did. I'm so used to negative stories, so I really just appreciate a positive one.
So I want to give you. So I want to now just thank you publicly. Also, like to be able to guide me in a direction that is elevated. That's pushed me to elevate my career and down this journey that I'm on. It's continuing.
Amazing.
So a pivotal part of that. So thank you.
I'm super happy to hear that. I think the hard thing is. I could really both your points here. You want to employ people in a sustainable way, and I think the problem I found, I'm just very transparent about this, is that the people that work for you become family in some respects. They may not like you most of the time, but that's also family, right? Sometimes,
yeah.
You know everything about those employees. Every employee has a story going on, and you're trying to balance that and help them. You're also trying to grow a business. And I'm a perfectionist that I couldn't tolerate, let's say, bad performance. I want to give people a chance or whatever. So it's just what happens if you have someone that was really, really good, maybe for 2 or 3 years, but is now no longer good, and you've tried to coach them and create them and new roles and then you have to manage out. So the hardest thing of running or founding the company for me was over 12, 13 years, you go through many people, many people's journeys. Many management teams. I went through 3 or 4 management teams at different stages. And parting companies really hard, because these are people that are in the trenches with you. They're fighting. They're good people. They're all hardworking. It's just at certain points. And if anyone's ever been fired, and I've been fired once in my career, and the guy who fired me was amazing to me, and I owe him tons of amazing opportunities, and he was totally right to fire me, which probably should have fired me 4 years before, and I went on to better things and all of those. And yet, when you are fired, that leaves a little bit of a emotional hole in you. And I understand, basically, when you're growing companies, the people that work for you, they become family, and parting along the way is really hard. And I think that for me still is the toughest part, and that's why, as an investor, not having the responsibility of either hiring or firing, right? I can now be the good guy. For the last 3 years, people come to me and they say, they fired me. I go, how could they do that to you? You're amazing. Yeah. Suddenly I'm the good guy again. I can help people. And they go, Dan, you're such a great bloke. But for 13 years, I was like the bad guy who's just trying to grow a business, trying to give people opportunities. And that for me is still the founder, because the alternative, you've only got two alternatives. Either you accept mediocrity, but you're okay just hiring people, whether they're good or bad or whatever, or you have to not accept mediocrity, that you're going to grow the company, hire the best talent, and accept that trade-off. And yes, everyone tries to manage people out well and give them packages and be nice and be references to help them get jobs and interviews, but you never miss fired, still have. So that's still, to answer long story short. But anyway, I'm delighted that you went on the right career path. It's good. So thank you.
I have one last question, if I might. I want to say, you love the term misfits, and you have a misfit. I was going to say, you've got this misfit. So can you share how, not in the business context?
Yes.
I mean, I know you personally, and I think one of the things that's magnetic here is that misfit behavior. I'm always embarrassed around you, which just makes you so much fun. What is one misfit behavior that maybe it made you successful in building a company and investing, that you bring into your personal life, something that Howard and I should take and
that comes into your personal life?
What's a misfit behavior that you've expressed so well in business that may be a little bit awkward in the home?
You have KPIs for the family.
I'm not, just so we're clear, I'm just an employee at home. I don't even make it to the management team.
You're going to be fired soon.
You're an individual contributor.
Yeah, I just think the boss just accepted mediocrity, and because and I lived up to those low expectations. So I don't know. I just think the one thing I will say about the family and work, I did have the privilege of bringing my kids into the business a couple of times, which were like super, super fun, because for them to see you in a different light. That was fun. I don't know. I'm not
fun or dangerous. It would kind of be like you are showing them a different side of you, which is good for healthy transparency and family. But like you were saying before, sometimes you're managing a business. What happens? It doesn't work out.
I look and this all sounds a bit cliche, but the KPI of a family, I still think, is whatever we do in our work, and we take ourselves very seriously in startups and entrepreneurship, is all a load of BS when it comes versus the family, right? Like that's the context. So, no. I'm
going to give a big kiss here. That's the bonus of doing a live interview with my dear friend, our dear friend. And you saw that discipline. He didn't even touch the ice cream.
For this commercial.
No.
Okay.
But Daniel, thank you very much for sharing.
You really made me happy today. Thank you very much.
I'm surprised I didn't mention that story too early. I see you a couple of times a month, and Friday morning shopping or over the weekend. It just never, I don't know, it didn't come up, but I'm glad that it came up. I'm able to share
tell a few other people that story, because it just rebalance my.
Well, we do have listeners, and I'll include that as it's important. Yeah, it's important to share gratitude, and thanks to people that's helped you along the way.
Wonderful.
Howard, that's it. We're going to push Daniel out of the scene here. And,
Bye, Daniel. Thank you.
That's it. That's the fifth one, and I think they get more and more fun, and cheekier the guests. So I think it's a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, the in-person is also fun, but it was really great to get as part of our ongoing chats and to go to market. It's marketing, sales, it's branding, it's sales development, but to have the perspective from founders and investors is also part of the package and what their thoughts are. So it was really exciting to hear from Daniel today. Episode 5, we're going to keep going. Again, if anyone has
we're going to keep going, keep chatting.
Yeah.
Howard, high five, as they say, and we'll talk more, I'm sure.
All right, take care. Be well.
Take care.
Bye-bye.